What is up, hotties? Welcome back to another episode of Stay Hot. I'm Blaiden Kirk, joined as always by my two favorite co-hosts of all time, Matthew Sponhour and Theo Ash. And today we are going to go over the NFC South, give you our predictions for how that division is going to shake out. It feels like there might be one team at the top and then everyone else is fighting for second, but maybe we'll have a different take on this episode. But before we get into it, Matt, Theo, how are you guys doing? Especially Matt. It was your birthday this weekend. Everyone else is celebrating the 4th of July, but we all know they're shooting off fireworks for Matthew Sponhour turning 15 years old.
14, but yeah, it was a good time. It was a pretty normal birthday. I don't know if I have too much to report.
Was that the theme?
What theme?
Normal day. Did you have like a party?
Well, we went out. Me and the guys, we went out. We got some dinner. We went to Kung Food, which is around the Covington area. If you know, you know. Or you can just Google it and then you'll know. It's not exactly a deep cut or anything. But I'm mostly excited for the new college football game to come out. That's mostly what I'm looking forward to, and that's going to be tonight, so I'm pumped.
Hell yeah. Did you pre-order it?
I did.
Nice. It looks really good. So, yeah, I'm excited too.
Speaking of getting new things, did you get any loot, Matt? Did your mom send you a whole ham or anything?
No, the ham is an Easter tradition. I basically just got cards is all. I didn't get any like cool presents or toys or whatever. Like
you just got dough?
You probably get toys though, right? Because you're a big dumb baby.
I'm a big smart baby.
Okay.
With lots of toys on my list, so I can play with them.
A kiss for his birthday.
A big dumb baby would forget to put toys on their list. Actually, what's on my birthday list right now? I actually do have one. I know I got a Packers jersey. I haven't got a Packers jersey, like a new one, in a long time. So I do want like one with a modern player on it. I think the last one I got was Jair, and now he's gone. I'd like a Elton Jenkins, a Josh Jacobs, a Jordan Love, or an Evan Williams. But I want candles, like not just on the cake, like a nice smelling candle. I'm a big candles guy.
Nice.
Goodwill is good for candles. That's where I get my supply from.
Okay.
Because like if you go to, I won't name any names. If you go try to buy candles retail
Anywhere,
I mean, you're going to be dropping $20, 30. It's like, and that's just like not something that's doable. But if you go to Goodwill, they usually have at least some assortment of candles. Now, they aren't always great. Sometimes it'll be like, here's this 15-year-old candle and it smells like olives. And it's like, all right, I might be cool. But I think just like for regular stuff, or like, if you pick your spots, you save a lot of dough.
Yeah. No, I'm going to steal that. That's good because it is a tough pill to swallow. I'm always at the grocery store at Target. And it's like, man, I'd like a candle, but I don't really want to add $15 to my total. So I'll just open the window or something. But that's a good hack. But enough about my birthday list. I went to a concert yesterday. I went to see Wolfpack. Do you guys know them?
Haven't ever heard of her. My girlfriend is a bassist, and they employ like the world's greatest bassist. So we went to see really him, and then we realized that he's like, they have 8 other musicians who are just as good, and they're always switching. Like the drummer will then leave the drums and go play piano and sing, and then he'll go play guitar, and then obviously someone else has to go fill in on drums. So it's really positionless at the Wolfpack show, except for Joe Dart, who holds it down on the bass, because I don't think anybody else can play bass like him. He plays it like it's a lead guitar. It's kind of crazy. So that was a very fun show. It was a very fun show. I think Wolfpack, I don't think they have the best songs ever, like on Spotify. They're like actual discography isn't like crazy great, I'd say. Yeah. But if there was like a battle of the bands of every band in history, they might win because there's so many members. There are 9 people on stage. And they're all just cracked musicians. So when you can actually like see them moving around and
Mm-hmm.
Doing all the different things that they do. I think they're a better live show than a recorded group, which is not always the case. A lot of people sound good in recordings and not so much live. They sound good in their recordings and all, but
most bands sound better in studio than they do live.
I think they just like
rare to find
jamming.
good
So like
live.
traditional song structures for them, I think they're kind of like not worried about it. And so I think that's what makes them so good live, is they can just kind of be creative and do whatever. Whereas in a studio, you kind of got to keep it tight. And I think they kind of struggle with like being concise sometimes. But it was awesome. It was a great show.
I didn't know they put out a new album this year.
They did.
Is that their first album in a decade? No, it's not. Okay.
No, it can't be. I mean,
they've put out a few since 2015, but that's their most popular.
Yeah, they haven't even been around that long. So, yeah, it was a great show. It was at Red Rocks. They were absolutely cracked. They were a complete joy to watch. So yeah,
nice. Yeah, I know. Like King Gizzard is kind of like that in terms of like positionless musicians.
Mm-hmm.
Like everyone in the band plays drums and guitar and keys and bass, and so it's sick. And they'll sometimes have multiple drummers, and King Crimson is kind of versatile in that way also.
Aren't they like from the 70s?
King Crimson?
Yeah.
King Crimson's is pretty old. I'm pretty sure Red came out because that's their best album, I think.
The one with the screaming guy? With 21st
no. That's that's 1969. That album is 69. Red was 74.
Okay.
But In Court of the Crimson King is really good too. But
Kanye sampled that, I know that.
Yeah, he did. But
yeah, he did.
Starless is the greatest song of all time. So
okay. I don't know that one. I'll have to listen to that.
It's 12 and a half minutes, but it's peak.
Most of the peak songs are like beyond 5 minutes, I think. There's a lot of great songs that are long.
I was listening to Blue Oyster Cult's main album, Blue Oyster Cult, today. And the best song on that album is probably still Cities on Flame with Rock and Roll, but like Stairway to the Stars is outstanding. But all of those songs are under 5 minutes. And I was kind of surprised by that because I feel like, I don't know, I expected them to write longer songs, but they don't. But all of their songs are so good.
When I see a song that's 7 minutes and 30 seconds long, I'm like, okay, this is about to be the best song ever.
Oh, yeah.
That's like the sweet spot where it's like long enough to be like someone's magnum opus, but short enough to still be listenable.
Yeah, like Fallen Angel's another great song off of Red. It's 6 minutes long.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's a very good sweet spot. It doesn't feel too long. Year of the Cat is the title track off of Al Stewart's best album from 1976. It's like 6.5 minutes long. It's fantastic. 2 guitar solos, a sax solo, and just great lyrics. So yeah, we put you on to peak music here at Stay Hot also every once in a while. But shall we figure out if the Panthers are going to win the NFC South?
Yeah, let's put our heads together.
What's the vision here, Matt? What needs to go right for the Carolina Panthers in 2025?
Their rookie edge rushers would have to be really, really good. That's kind of my first thought about Carolina and the biggest question mark, which, funny enough, I feel like is kind of the Falcons' biggest question mark as well. But the Panthers are relying incredibly heavily on like a second and a third round pick to come in and make an instant impact. And if they don't, I don't think they're going to have much of a pass rush, and I think the defense will be more better than it was last year rather than legitimately good. In fact, I kind of think that's the game plan for the defense. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Like, I really liked their offense. I have high hopes for Princely and Scorton. Like, there's good reason to like how their process overall went. And the fact that they invested more in the defensive line and they're getting Derek Brown back, like, okay, they should be a lot better defending the run and whatnot. But against the pass, like, I don't know. I still have questions about, like, cornerback 2 and J.C. Horn's health. And again, the pass rush. To me, this does not scream an above average defense without a lot breaking their way, even if you like what they did.
Here's an interesting thing, though, right? Because I was kind of thinking the same thing. I was like, man, the Panthers were like pretty, like they were the worst defense in the NFL by a pretty wide margin, right? Mm-hmm. And you're like, well, even if they're better, is it going to be enough to like topple Tampa or Atlanta or the Saints? But there is not a single team in the NFC South that had an EPA per play on defense above 17. That was Tampa's. Tampa's success rate was 24th. So even if the Panthers could even get to like an average-ish defense, I feel like that would kind of put them in like NFC South.
On paper, they're a below average defense, though.
Yeah, I mean,
definitely. I mean, we're talking about if they could be average, then they're below average, right? And yeah, I think there's, other defenses in the NFC South that aren't that great. But if we're judging the Panthers in a vacuum of how good they're going to be, like to me, the first thought is that their defense just does not like move me right off the bat. And I like the direction of Carolina. And I think offensively they could be better than they were last year too. And you kind of feel like they should. They're bringing back basically the same offensive line. Bryce had a really good stretch at the end of last year. The run game should still be super good. And you added like another big time weapon, and you've got some young guys in that room who could continue to improve, right? So there's a lot that could go right there. But I also think even with that, it's like, okay, well, I don't know. Maybe I think the upside of the offense is a whole lot better than the upside of the defense to me.
Oh, absolutely.
But even then, I don't want to get ahead. I don't want to get out over my skis with them, right? As much as I think Bryce will continue to play good, the sample size is what? Like 8 games of him being an NFL quarterback, and the other 20 that he played was like really not that great. I think the growth is real, but it's also something to factor in. He's not completely proven yet. So, and neither are like basically any of the Panthers receivers. Not really, right? I think Tet will be good. Leggett could be better. Coker had some nice moments last year. Adam Thielen still looks like he has juice. I've talked about Jimmy Horn Jr. on here as a cool guy to have as your 5th or 6th receiver before. But that being the case and actually turning into like a positive unit with guys who are like above average, like real difference makers, again, it's something that maybe could take part of the season to get to, right? Or, if it happens at all. And Tet could come in and dominate, and Bryce could pick up right where he left off. I think there's a lot of good stuff here. I think the offense probably, like, if the weapons look good, I don't know, they could push to be a pretty decently efficient offense in a division that doesn't have a lot of good defenses. Like, I won't put a number on it, but they could be pretty nice, especially since the run game is already what it is. But I'm not quite ready to be like, this is the Panthers' year. And I'll frame it as that would be a little bit unfair to them. It'd be a little bit too quick for them to say that this is going to be the year where they're like in the playoffs is probably the line for them, right? I don't think they're quite a playoff team yet. There's just too many question marks still. Last year I said they were going to be a scrappy 5-win team. Took a lot. That's where we got. This year I think they're relevant in the playoff race for a decent amount of time and then don't quite get it done. That's where I envision them. And to me, that means they probably end up 2nd or 3rd in this division.
How good exactly do you think Bryce will be? Like, do you think, based on what he showed last year, you're expecting top 10 results from him, or top 10 5 results would be, or just like top half?
I would say I'd be satisfied if he was. I think if he was the 16th best quarterback next year, I would feel very good about that. I think that would be very good growth, right?
So just kind of sustaining where they were at in the back half of last year.
If he was playing like he was in the back half of last year with better receiver play, I don't know. Are we saying like, what do we expect from him and sort of like with the weapons that he has around him type idea, or just like his play straight up?
I think with the weapons around him, like they've added Tet. Last year they were, post week 9, they were 14th in EPA per drop back. They were 19th in EPA, or not EPA. They were 19th in success rate. So very, very middle of the pack. Like, do you think they'll be beyond middle of the pack, or do you think they'll just kind of sustain that level with Ted?
I think the receivers should definitely be better. I don't think there's any question about that. I think the receivers stunk last year.
Have you seen the Leggett training clips? He's looking sharp out there, man.
Well, with Leggett, I'm pretty worried about Leggett. I won't lie. I mean, look, we all know that he can get in and out of his breaks and he can actually go win like against NFL corners very, very seriously. But the issue is like his hands are so bad and they'll either be better or they won't. It's really hard to project any progression one way or the other. He's an older rookie, but he like kind of picked it up late. So like, we'll see how it's a guess. It's a guess. We know what his issue is. We know that you either can or cannot develop. I'll tell you right now, if his hands don't improve, not an NFL receiver, not a guy who you can really rely on in any way, because not only is it an issue when you're targeting him deep and it's such a challenge for him to bring the ball in regardless of how open he gets, but even in the short yardage stuff, he has to look in the ball so much he can't turn up the field and be a threat after the catch.
Yeah.
So it crushes him in like every way to not be able to cleanly hang on. And it's more than just bringing the ball in when you're wide open. You've got to be able to soundly bring it in, or you need to be able to track balls and win tough contested catch situations. That was part of the sell for Leggett. I think there's a path to him being a very good receiver. But if we're sitting here, on July 6th, and we're wondering like how many wins are the Panthers going to get, I don't know if you can look at Leggett right now and be like, yeah, he's for sure like a green check mark in the receiver room and you've got Tet and the receivers will just be fine. Could turn out that way, but I don't know. It's a mystery box. And I think in general, when guys look like they have an issue, that's always a bad sign. There's plenty of time for development. Rookies get better, but it's definitely a big concern, right?
Mm-hmm. I think the thing that gives me optimism with Leggett is kind of the fact that the trait that he was good at in college was the contested catch stuff. I felt like he had great hands coming out. And so it almost feels so out of character for him to have had kind of the rookie season performance that he did. So I do kind of have this hope that he kind of almost like regresses to the mean in some.
It's possible.
He's got it in him.
Like he just kind of like, that's what I'm saying. Like we know he has it. We've seen him do it. So I don't know. I mean, one thing I've been thinking about, and it's mostly because like I go and play flag football and everyone like brings their own ball. And like I have like that like standard NCAA football that's like that like really tough leather. I prefer that ball. I just like that style more. It's similar to the ones that is used in high school. But some people bring like the NFL ball and it's just a little bit, it's like shaped a little bit differently. I wonder if he had like problems adjusting to the type of ball.
I think he had problems adjusting to the type of athlete. I mean, you're right that the balls are different, and that's something that Chase talked about when he was having his drop issues his rookie season. In the preseason, he's like, well, there's stripes on the college ball that you can kind of use to key in on. Not used to not having that.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. So there's definitely differences with the ball, but I think in general, like he just struggled a lot with the physicality of the NFL game. And he's supposed to be the biggest, strongest guy out there. And when he wasn't that, physically, he's the biggest and strongest. Like from a frame perspective, he's the biggest and strongest, but he's not actually the biggest and strongest guy. And I think not being that really hurt him. Like he'd just get lit up and drop it. He'd hear footsteps and drop the ball. He, as good as he was, like movement wise and some of the breaks that he had, if guys were more physical with him, then his routes would really deteriorate. So I think just getting used to the NFL physicality has been a huge adjustment for him. He hardly had any yak all of last year. The Panthers were the worst team in terms of yak last year, number 32 in yards after the catch, according to the NFL Pro website. So, yeah, I just think like he can't just be kind of this elastic route runner. Well, it's obviously good if he is that. Like, you want him to be that, plus a physical beast. And that physicality was just completely missing from him last year. And I think the way he played the ball was always pretty questionable. Like, some guys are so good at flashing late hands and understanding the type of catch you need to make for the situation. It just didn't seem like Leggett had that kind of nuance. I think the best wide receiver they had last year by far was Adam Thielen. Like he had the best repertoire with Bryce. He was running the best routes. He had the best hands. And,
your best receiver can't be Adam Thielen. I still think he's probably an underrated piece for them right now, and you don't want to forget about him. But there's a reason they brought in Tet, and bringing in Tet could be cool. I like it. I think it'll help the offense get better, or at least keep the same levels of good that they were in the back half of last year. But like, man, you really would have liked that pick to go to defense, and Leggett is just great right now, right? Because I agree, Matt, this defense has gone from terrible to probably just bad. I mean, they were such a joke last year. Their front seven just could not defeat a block. They could not do anything. And they would just get killed on every single run play against every single scheme. Wide receivers could block their defensive ends. And you're just cooked if that can happen. He runs to the exterior. It's just over. Josie Jewell's not tracking that down. So I think and the embarrassing thing is they played with a lot of guys up front. Like, they were constantly in bear fronts from week one. So guys couldn't get doubled, but they would just lose all their one-on-ones. And I think it'll get a little bit better now that they've addressed, the defensive tackle position, and it's not complete nobody's up there.
Derek Brown's back.
I feel the best about the defensive line. I think the defensive line could be legitimately pretty strong, especially if Brown returns to form. I think their linebackers will see with like Wallace or whatever, and then the secondary we'll see. Again, I still think outside of Horn, the corner room is just light.
I think Eric is going to be a big upgrade over.
And that helps in the run support as well, right? Like, I think they'll be playing downhill a lot. I mean, they've got to be better against the run than they were last year. There's no question about that. I don't know. I guess my opinion is that I don't think the Panthers are going to make the playoffs this year necessarily. Although they do, I guess, have like kind of a wide range of outcomes just based off like development, right? They've got so many guys who aren't really established as how good they're going to be. But I do think their overall process and their path is good. And I think, I don't know, if they were somebody's sleeper team, like, you get it. You totally get how like it could be possible if you liked just a handful of the things that they've done, or you were particularly high on certain young guys that they had. I'm sticking with 8 wins though.
Yeah,
I think 8's a pretty fair line for them. I don't know.
I'm sure it's more like 6.5 or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
But I think like 8's a fair, like, optimistic place to be. It's kind of hard to pick who's going to be that second team, but I think it's like perfectly reasonable to be like, the Panthers. Bryce Young was like in the back half of the year, he was 10th in EPA per play and 15th in success rate. It's like, if you think he can maintain that and the receivers are better, then you just believe in their offense putting up some pretty good numbers, and that might be enough to get them to 8 wins kind of on its own, even if the defense isn't like outstanding, so.
Yeah. Everybody in this division, like you said, Blaiden, a lot of them have bad defenses, and a lot of them have kind of questionable quarterback situations. So the Panthers don't necessarily stand out in the landscape of like the league, I'd say, but in the landscape of this division, I can certainly see looking at them and saying like, well, they've got a half decent shot along with anybody with the line and the quarterback and the weapons and the running back.
Theo, let's move on to a team that you're kind of high on, it seems. The New Orleans Saints, who probably have the most questionable quarterback situation in this division. It looks like they will be starting Tyler Shuck week 1, or Spencer Rattler, or Jake Hayner, whoever that ends up being. But they drafted Shuck, so I imagine that's the guy.
Yeah, they drafted Shuck pretty high, so I'd say it has to be him. They kind of handpicked him after taking Banks in the first round. Rattler is definitely quicker and more athletic than Shuck is, but I think Shuck's, traditional pocket passing, skill set is what they're going to value with where they took him. And yeah, my argument for the Saints is I think Shuck is being plopped into a better situation than I think a lot of people give him credit for. Especially the line and the run game. I think Alvin Kamara is still pretty sweet. And having McCoy in the middle of that offensive line allows them to be a really, really good zone team. I mean, he just reaches everybody. He can bang around and get straight downhill for a duo. They've got really athletic guys to the sides of him, like Ruiz and Penning will be the guards. Both of those guys can really get out and move. So can Fuaga. So they can get out to the exterior, and they run some nasty pin pulls and toss plays. So their run game should be pretty fun. I'm actually really excited to watch that, with Banks kind of bringing some, down blocking power. Maybe they can get to a few more gap schemes than they were doing with Clint Kubiak. So their whole menu of running plays is going to be pretty adept. And I think Shuck could be able to just sit under center, hand the ball off, run play action, and be in a situation where he can have a lot of success with Shaheed and Olave running in breakers. If their pass rate is low, I think they can be explosive. I think they can be consistent with that run game. That is the vision for the Saints, I think, on offense. The problem is if they fall behind, if they have to, dig themselves out of a hole, can they become a more, shot?
Their straight up drop back passing game is not going to be good.
It's not going to be
probably
good.
Right? It was 30th in the NFL last year.
Okay, it was 30th in the NFL last year, and take that for what you will, because it's going to be like a lot of new guys in that game or whatever.
They were banged up last
But like Olave is very injury prone. If something happens to him, receivers are a disaster. And Shuck,
very thin.
We like more than average. We were kind of Shuck on the Shuck train.
Curious. I'm Shuck curious for sure.
Yeah. But like I have questions about whether or not I can sit here and be like that. I think he was kind of worth like a mid second rounder, late second rounder is going to turn into like, yeah, he's going to be good like right away. And even then, like, let's say that he's got huge injury problems. So you kind of need a lot to go right here for you to not have the worst quarterback situation in the NFL.
Yeah.
Right. Or
definitely.
One of them. Right. I mean, that's no exaggeration. And that to me makes the Saints my fourth team in this division. I see the world where it's like the offensive line, like, yeah, it's kind of coming together, and their run game can be strong. Like, I know exactly what you mean. They could have been better last year if they were healthier. Right. But it's again, it's a lot of ifs to get to average. And I mean, Kamara's getting up there, man. I don't think their running back depth is all that great. Like, dude, and defensively, I also am not like super moved by them at this point. I guess my thought on New Orleans is like, I agree there's a little bit more talent here than people think, because they're not really like any sort of like super competitive team, and they're so like dug into the salary cap hole that it might be easy to say like, well, who cares what they do, and just blow them off entirely if you're like not a fan of the Saints or not like invested in them and you're a fan of some AFC team or whatever. But I don't know if like that talent gets me to the point where there's any one unit I think they're truly like particularly strong outside of maybe their run game is pretty solid.
Yeah, definitely. It would have to be a very Steelers-y path, and that's
and when your
ceiling is like the Steelers.
The issue is we're saying if they can be the Steelers, it's like oof, I mean they don't have the superstars on defense like that.
No, they don't, and Staley is coming in to be the defensive coordinator, and they're already a team that allowed 141 rushing yards per game last year, which was second worst behind the Panthers. They allowed 4.9 yards per attempt. That was second worst behind the Panthers. And Staley, I'm sure, is coming in, and he doesn't really have a long history of solid run structures, right? This isn't necessarily, they don't have the guys, they don't have the thick boys right in the middle of the defensive line that can eat the blocks that they need to play the coverages that they do. I mean, that's Staley's specialty, right? And this Fangio tree specialty is really, really sound zone coverages from too high that help leverage the crossers and deal with the trips formations and things like that. And the front is like, well, you guys better hold up your end of the bargain, because we're devoting our attention to the secondary, right? And the Saints just don't seem to have that talent level in the front seven to run that type of system. And I'm really worried about that. I do like their secondary. I think Alontae Taylor's fun.
Yeah.
I think Justin Reed can help them a little bit because he's such a good run supporting safety that I think that was an underrated pickup for this defense. Like, okay, if we can't get a 350-pound defensive tackle, like we can get a safety who is one of the more reliable tacklers in the league and he's not going to allow these breaks to become 50-yard gains or anything like that. But that still is not going to help you, knock teams back and put them behind schedule and things like that. They have been a very solid defense for a long time, and in a division where the defenses are terrible, like you insinuated, Blaiden. Like, of the bottom 5 success rate pass defenses last year, there's the Cardinals and the Jaguars. They were the worst 2. And then the next 3 were Falcons, Panthers, and Bucs for pass defense. So the Saints stood out a little bit in this division with actually having a half-decent secondary with half-decent corners. But is that going to be enough when, Drake London is in this division and Bijan Robinson is in this division and Christian Wirfs is in this division and, Bryce and those weapons look better than shucking those weapons.
Yeah, Bryce and them, it's not going to be easy, man.
It's not going to be easy.
Frightening. So I don't think we're revealing any new information here. The Saints are probably, there may be again a little bit better. Okay, actually I got one for you.
Okay.
How many teams do you think the Saints are better than?
Let's see. I think that they're better than Cleveland. I think they're better than... I think they're going to be better than New England. How's that?
That might be kind of a hot take, but...
That is a hot take.
I think you're really underselling the Drake May Tyler Shuck difference.
It's bad.
Maybe. But I still think Olave and Shaheed is a lot better than Diggs and Kyle Williams, I think. And I think the offensive line is so much better in New Orleans.
Yeah, but do they have a guy that said they would fight and die to protect their quarterback? I don't think.
I'm sure someone will. I don't know. I'm just kind of low on New England. I think New Orleans could be better than Tennessee. I think they could be better than the Giants. I think they could be...
I think I agree with those.
Not many.
Maybe better than the Jets.
It's just you just listed all the teams with no answer at quarterback or a bad quarterback situation, and then the Patriots.
Yeah.
So
there's not many that they're clearly better than, but I think they're definitely better than Cleveland. I don't think they're the for sure worst.
So we'll get to the AFC North eventually, but I don't know, man. The Browns could be better than the Saints.
Maybe they are just the worst.
At least the Browns have Garrett, and
I don't think the Saints are the worst team. I think I might take them over the Titans too.
How many career pass attempts does Shuck have in college?
Maybe 700.
Oh no.
That is the other thing. He is kind of coming in. He doesn't have that much experience. That's what's so weird about it.
700 career pass attempts in college would be crazy.
I'm
the success rate of guys. Okay, he's at 951, guys. He's at 951.
You were pretty close, Matt.
It's not bad.
951 isn't quite in the danger zone. I was looking at this because of McCarthy the other day, but quarterbacks drafted in the 2020s with 800 or less pass attempts in their college careers, it's actually a pretty rough list. It's let's see, I can sort it here.
Richardson.
With less than 800, it's McCarthy, Tua, Fields, Mac Jones, Anthony Richardson, Trey Lance. And then if you combine that with guys who never got to 380 in there in an individual season, Zach Wilson joins that list. So pass attempts,
the only thing I agree. The only thing I would say is that Tua having issues is like kind of unrelated to an experience thing from my
totally.
opinion.
I mean, yeah,
he's a lot different than those other guys.
But he got off to a slow start to his career, like
he did.
It took him a while to get going.
So like, yeah.
So it's not good. It's just there hasn't been a good history of like inexperienced quarterbacks hitting the ground running, which Shuck is. This is all to say we're
really pro Shuck.
But here's the other.
We
are more pro Shuck than probably the average person, but also, like, he only gets to this 951 mark because he played. Or because he was in college football for like 7 seasons.
Right.
And like, to some extent, like, yes, you can give a pass and be like, oh, well, he's experienced. He's been in college football for 7 seasons, but also it's like, I mean, the first 2 seasons, he like basically didn't play.
Yeah.
And then he only played, and then in 2 of those seasons where he did play, he only played 4 games, and he only played a full season this past year.
Right.
So it's just like,
so that's why he needs to be on like kind of the Bo Nix path where like Nix just had a solid rookie season, right? The team had a pretty average offense at the end of it and they went to the playoffs. And Nix had a lot of screens that he benefited from and a lot of kind of play action, deep shots, right? The famous one to Mims in the Bengals game. And I'm thinking, like, can Shuck have a rookie season kind of like that with all these offensive linemen who are so good at getting out in space and Kamara, right? Like, can they kind of supplement him with, like, a lot of kind of auxiliary passes in the run game where it's like, well, look at Shuck. He doesn't have many picks. He hasn't taken many sacks. Like, sure, there's maybe not a bunch of intermediate rips, but and that's kind of the offense I envision for the Saints is like, they can get really, really good at really safe plays. And that's what's going to help Shuck out. Whereas like May, are they going to be so good at, things like that? I don't know. Maybe they are because Kyle Williams is fucking great at screens.
Well, and May is he's also just the GOAT. So.
Yeah. I mean, he's a lot better at actually probably like dropping back and being under pressure and like actually making some shit happen. But do they have like the easy buttons? Is he going to be as protected as Shuck and things like that? Chase Young is also a little underrated. I got to say that. Chase Young, I feel like people think he's hot ass, but he gets a lot of pressure. Setting the edge, bit of a struggle last year. But he's got some pass rush juice.
Let's take a break from talking about bad quarterback situations and talk about one team that at least has a quarterback that's been figured out for a couple of years. Tampa Bay. Their offense is absolutely stacked, right? There's obviously the concern about losing their offensive coordinator, but they've gone through that before and were able to replace it just fine then. So I think to some extent you can trust that they'll probably make the right call there or that they did make the right call. But the offense, I mean, Baker Mayfield, Bucky Irving, their offensive line is great. Their run game overall was great last year. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Emeka Egbuka is their like top 3 receivers, and they've also got Jalen McMillan. I mean, their offense was top 5 in EPA and top 3 in success rate last year. And to some extent, I just can't see any world where it's worse than that. I can't
there can definitely be. They can be worse than top 5.
Maybe, but I mean, dude.
What you think there's no way they're?
I mean, the world is that the new offensive coordinator isn't as good as their old one, and all of a sudden, like, Baker's playing worse. But like,
I think top 5 is a heck of a bar. There's almost no offense where it's truly hard to imagine how they could not be top 5 outside of maybe like excluding like, well, a quarterback goes down. Like, it would be pretty hard to imagine that for like maybe Baltimore and Buffalo or like teams like that where it's like, But for a team like the Buccaneers, and I agree, I think their offense is awesome. I have a hard time imagining it not being very good, even with Cohen gone. But I do think there's definitely like, just because they replaced an offensive coordinator before and it didn't affect them doesn't mean that it couldn't ding them slightly going forward. But I agree. I think the Egbuka pickup does a lot for them. Their receivers are going to be awesome. I think Baker is pretty solid. I think their run game is really good. We know how we feel about Bucky. So, I mean, they're my number 1 team in this division, right? And I think it pretty strongly, just because I don't know. I think they easily are the strongest on any side of the ball here on offense compared to like any offense or defense in the NFC South.
Yeah, I do probably take back the sleeper number 1 seed in the NFC pick, just because I don't know how much I believe in their defense. Like, they've got some good players there for sure, but like, how old is Levante David at this point, man?
I think he's like 35 or something.
Their secondary was
old.
not good last year. And their defensive line's like, they got a decent amount of pressure last year. I think they were 11th in pass rush win rate, and they were top 10 in sacks. So it's like, the defense can be okay, but I don't think it's quite good enough to be like best team in the NFC good.
Yeah, they've got great talent. I worry about their coaching. I worry about the value that Bowles creates at this point, and then the fact that their offensive coordinator is an unknown. All right, they've had a good system developing the offensive coordinators, going from Canales to Cohen to now King Grizzard here, which would make Mayfield his lizard. Wait, wizard.
Yeah, no, yeah, King Grizzard and Baker Mayfield's the lizard. Can we Manny's in the call listening. Can we get a graphic of
King Grizzard,
a King Giz album? But it's,
you can't, dude. A graphic of their albums would be impossible. Like, every single King Giz album cover is like the most complicated thing ever. But
I'm gonna find one.
But anyway, they're coaching. Bowles is just not that good at this point. Like, managing situations at the end of games is one thing, and then just the defensive play calling. I mean, it used to be more like play man and blitz, and that's the way he was live. It's not so much that anymore, but I still think the coverage structures behind his fronts, which are legitimately very creative, the coverage structures leave a lot to be desired. It's just a lot of very basic zones. Like, if you can kind of unmask the Scooby-Doo monster that is like this front that you've never seen before, that they line up in the first play of the game, right? If you can kind of maneuver that and get it blocked, like, there is a lot to pick on the back end. Their linebackers, their corners, like Kirk O'Chains dropped 500 on their head like twice last year.
Yeah,
it's just,
the defense
is
definitely where I'm like, if you didn't get better, you got worse, and I don't think they got better on defense.
Yeah. It's just, like you said, they got some good players. I like Vita Vea, Yaya Diaby, and Zion McCollum had kind of breakout years last year.
I think Winfield is still a good safety.
Winfield is still good, right? It's not. They drafted Morrison out of Notre Dame, who could be a good pickup. Like, it's more the coaching. It's more like, Flores, is your defense still good at this point? Like, it's the blitzing of Flores with none of the breaks in zone on the back end. It's just very, very vanilla, and I think way too easy to completely undress once you kind of get used to the fronts. So Bowles combined with this new OC, it's like, combined with Baker, who still took a lot of sacks last year, who still threw a lot of picks. Yeah. It's like, is this really some NFC powerhouse? I still think they're too talented. A lot of
picks the year before, so it's like
they've won the NFC South almost every year,
right?
Since Brady got there. So I still think they're the most talented team here and the team most capable of winning because of their offense and their line and how much time everything's going to have. And the weapons are just also good. But I also don't think they're not quite unbeatable or, serious playoff threats at this point.
No, I completely agree about the defense, and I really don't think their straight up pass rush is like that great either. I don't think they're like a particularly like Vita Vea is a great player, but overall across the defensive line, I don't think they're quite as stand out. And I mean, it's easy to sit here and say like, okay, well, their offense is unstoppable. But like, yeah, if you have coordinator issues or like you have some receiver issues, which you've got age with a couple of those, I don't think it'll happen. But and again, I'm really high on Igbuka. I don't want to lose that in this. I think he's going to be an immediate impact guy. And I think having him, Godwin, and Evans all out there, really, truly, I do kind of think their offense is too talented to be just like straight up like a disaster. I know that Baker is like kind of funky with how he handles the pocket. And so I don't think he's like a top 10 quarterback, right? We did our rankings. I didn't have him up there, but
right.
I do overall think the offense is still going to be pretty good. And I don't have that level of certainty with dang near anything else in the NFC South.
No,
it's not. I don't think the South is like quite as bad as it was maybe a year ago or 2 years ago. Like I think both the Falcons and the Panthers have some hope.
Yeah.
And
I mean, there was
like
a time when it was truly like up in the air who was going to win this division.
There was a time when it was a losing record, right? The NFC South has tended to be like that.
Yeah.
When
the NFC East was like that for a little bit too. Like,
yeah. I'm just thinking
NFC West
it's happened in the South.
Beastquake era.
Has an AFC team ever had a losing record and made it? I don't know.
Not that I can remember. Maybe like
that's a terrible question. But I'm just thinking.
I mean,
well, now
maybe
that I'm
like
thinking,
the
it's
AFC
like
South. There was a time when maybe Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos, Raiders wasn't great.
But a losing, I think, because the Seahawks were the first team to do it. The Beastquake that was the first team to do it, right?
If they were the first team, then an AFC team has never done it.
I think they were the first team, and then I think it was Carolina.
2010 Seahawks have done it. The 2014 Panthers did it.
Yeah.
The 2020 Washington football team did it when Heineke started that one game. And then the 2022 Bucs did it. So but none of those are AFC teams.
Yeah. That would be a really good trivia question for Nerd Sesh next time.
That would be. Yeah. Wipe this so they can't listen to it. But yeah, I think the Bucs, I agree. Like Baker, he's a bit of a wild card. He had so many touchdowns and so many yards last year. I think that production can all still be there with, I mean, just the sheer depth of their receiving core. Like Evans, Godwin, Igbuka is a great big three. And then they've just got a great like little three behind that with McMillan and Sterling Shepard and Tez Johnson now and Trey Palmer and their running back room. Like
their depth at receiver is crazy.
It's really nice. Yeah. And like Sean Tucker is a good third string running back. Like he always like averaged a ton of yards per carry when he was out there. Like White has his uses. I wish their depth on the line was a little better, but they were like outlier type good when dropping back last year, not allowing pressure. Like Mausch really broke out. Luka Decky is super underrated at right tackle. Like those two on the right side are like so good with their hands. They're not quite as big as Wirfs are, but they're real judo masters with what they can do, hand fighting. And hopefully Graham Barton can kind of break out a little bit. I think he was kind of just average his rookie year, but I really liked him coming out of college. I wonder, it's his second year playing center now. I wonder if he could break out and become a really positive player as well.
But that does bring us to the last team in this division, the Atlanta Falcons. Michael Penix at quarterback, Bijan, Drake London. This whole team kind of feels like a wild card. There's always the chance of Kyle Pitts.
Well, because we don't know a lot about their quarterback.
We don't know a lot about their quarterback. We don't know a lot about their pass rush. They've definitely invested resources in it.
Those are the two big questions with them.
Yeah.
More
there's
than anything
flash,
else.
but is there substance?
Is there substance?
Right.
Passing.
I think Penix is going to be pretty decent. I think the situation is relatively favorable for a young guy. He's experienced. He's played a lot of ball that matters, even though he only got a little bit of burn last year. I do think the accuracy is questionable, right? But I think he can see the field well, and he doesn't take a lot of sacks. And I really think that not taking a ton of sacks, at least he didn't in college, is going to be a big deal, and it's going to translate well. So I think you pair that with like Bijan, who I think is really great, and obviously you give him Drake London, and Mooney had a good year last year. It's like, okay, I think there's enough there for them to be like a pretty decent drop back passing game, and certainly better than what they were last year with Kirk Cousins, who was so limited at times that they couldn't really play serious ball. And they had that stat where he had like 1,000 yards against Tampa Bay, and then against everybody else, his numbers were like dead last in the league or whatever. And maybe that's kind of an unfair thing. Maybe it's kind of an unfair thing just because his 2 best games happen to be against the same team that you can be like, see, it's just this, and then blah, 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 blah. But
if he just plays the Buccaneers 17 games a season, they would win the Super Bowl, actually.
But like,
it's a little crazy to me that Kirk Cousins is still on the team.
No one wants to contract.
That's what, it's like no one's willing to trade. Yeah,
and they don't want to cut him and get in the dead cap. Like he's probably a decent backup, one of the better backups.
Yeah, I mean, the cap hit is $40 million this year, and the dead cap is $75. So like,
it kind of makes sense that he's still on the team.
I mean, it makes sense. It's just crazy to me. It's just like, damn, he
got replaced, and he's just still hanging around.
That's what I'm saying. He's like they gave him all this money and then replaced him, and he's still there. So.
Yeah, I think Penix will be okay. I like Penix a decent amount, but I think mechanically there's just more clear issues with him, and accuracy-wise, there's more clear issues with him than just about any other quarterback in the league besides like Richardson, right? He just I feel like he bends at his torso a lot. Like he kind of has severe movement in his upper body as he releases. I feel like, with all the knee surgeries he's had, some of his quickness and his ability to kind of get his hips around quickly to make throws, on the backside of where he was originally looking, that he can struggle with that sometimes and kind of get twisted around in the pocket as he's trying to throw. And there's some pretty bad misses, but man, he's got such a crazy arm, such a crazy arm, that sometimes he can get all twisted up and still just rocket that thing in there. And he really did come in and I thought looked more advanced than, the average rookie when it comes to making reads, getting to the backside, like looking zone defenders off and hitting another route. Like he was doing some very advanced things that I really like, and the arm talent I really like. So I think he's better than Kirk just because of that. Or he can avoid sacks a little bit more. He is a little bit more elusive. He can actually put some sizzle on a ball to get it over the middle without getting picked. I looked at Cousins' stats on throwing digs last year, and I think he had 0 touchdowns, 4 picks throwing that route in particular.
Well, and it's not even about elusiveness for me as much as it is about like, I can't even elaborate on how like ineffective his drop back is. Mm-hmm. It's just like he just kind of stands there, like the Hendon Hooker impression.
He's a turret, right? He's like a he's like a gun on a battleship.
But he also doesn't get like deep enough in his drop. Like I was talking to Sam Schwartzine kind of about this, about quarterback drops last night. And that's where we were just like, you watch Lamar Jackson drop back and it's like he's shot out of a cannon, mm-hmm. right? Like he takes the snap and just like immediately launches backwards.
Yeah.
And like you watch Kirk Cousins do that and it's not even comparable.
Or Burrow, he sees zone coverage and he quickens his drop back. He starts, taking quicker
and
steps,
like Kirk can't
gets the top
of
his drop faster. So he, is ready to throw before guys have even like hit their zone landmarks, and like there's just no coverage anyway. Like they've just won immediately because Burrow has seen it and quickened his drop back, and guys aren't even ready for the throw. Like, Cousins had none of that, and he couldn't run play action. Like he couldn't get under center.
He can't like step into his throws at all.
Turn and boot, right? Or roll out, because that involves like running and planting and swiveling his hips. And it's like he couldn't do any of that. He could just take the snap and shotgun, like take one step and start reading. Yeah. Penix isn't exactly the swiftest guy either.
No, but like
maybe they can do a little bit more. They can weaponize the drop back a lot more than they did with Cousins. Like that's where the washedness really came through with Cousins.
Yeah. Well, because he's so shallow in the pocket. Like any pressure that visualizes itself is going to be more impactful on him just because of where he's standing.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, at the same time, the drop back will be better, the mechanics will be worse, and like the natural accuracy will be worse. So where does that get you? I think it'll be a little bit better. I certainly think it'll be a little bit better, but I don't know if I think I'd rather have Bryce Young than Michael Penix, and I think I'd
I would absolutely.
So true.
Yeah. And I think I
think that's close.
Would maybe even rather have Baker Mayfield than Michael Penix.
Maybe.
Perhaps. Maybe.
Chance.
I think I would.
I think I
Okay.
absolutely would.
Shuck is not that different than Penix, I feel like. Bunch of injuries in college forever. Like, big arm, kind of slow-footed.
Sure. I wonder if Shuck might be a little more erratic. But
perhaps.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I disagree. I don't think Shuck is that erratic outside of that one throw.
Yeah.
it's not even, I don't know. It's just like the way that he looks when he throws.
That one throw was
How so?
crazy.
I don't know how to describe it, but it's like people make fun of me for like the way that I throw because I'm like, I don't have full rotation in my right arm. So like I release like at the side of my head instead of over top of it. Or like I saw a video of Nico Elite Takes throwing and he like hook shots when he throws almost. And I'm like, I don't know, Shuck almost has like, it's just like the way that he like contorts his body to throw sometimes. It just like, it feels like sometimes weird to watch, but
Penix also has some weird to watch throwing mechanics.
I thought Shuck's throwing motion was really good.
Maybe maybe that's because he's a lefty. Maybe Penix is weird.
Maybe if you reversed it would look
maybe if you inverted the camera, it would be better. But how do you feel about their pass rush? Atlanta.
I don't know. I think they're both kind of like, I think they both have a lot of juice. They're both very quick. I'm maybe a little bit higher on it than you guys. I mean, I like James Pierce Jr. a decent amount, but it's hard to deny how weird his game is, where he's like a very light speed to power guy who is often just like bull rushing. And it's like, yeah, the questions about how that's going to translate certainly are fair when you get to the NFL level, right? And then Walker is somebody who I think everybody likes a little bit more. Everybody likes a little bit more Walker than James Pierce Jr., but I don't know if his pass rush plan is like super complete either. Both of them would be like really great on like stunts and whatnot, and Walker is like a blitzer, obviously, was like really, really good. And both of them are great play finishers. Both of them were two of the best play finishers in the draft. Like when they get in the backfield, they're really going to make it happen. So I'm interested to see it. I definitely think it's far from a sure thing, and I definitely think the process of how they got to having both these guys was questionable. Almost forgotten about that, but it was not the best way to get through it. But I'm certainly like more interested in what the defense can be because they've gone and done that, whereas if they just like sat on their hands, like there's no question about that, right? So I'll say I'm like mildly optimistic actually. But I don't know if it's enough for me to like really predict their defense to be good.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by their defense and especially how those two rookies fit together.
It's bizarre. It's really a one-on-one thing.
I hope that Jalen Walker isn't pass rushing too much. Honestly, like the more I thought about it, the more I was like, man, this idea that he's going to move to edge full time doesn't make any sense to me because he would be so undersized, and like his bend isn't that crazy. But could he be an, off the ball linebacker who's just totally physical, like totally has the sideline to sideline range? Like you just saw what happened with Bond, who moved from edge to middle linebacker, and he just like, flew around, was so good shooting gaps downhill, so good taking on contact and shutting off. It's like, could Jalen Walker, like be an off-ball linebacker and have something special to him like that? Like, the type of off-the-ball linebacker who's so physical that those too high shells start to become way easier to play because you just have this kind of beast in the box who could legitimately make it as a defensive lineman, and some think that's his better position. I'm really, really pumped for Jalen Walker. Pierce too is just such an interesting player. Like his skill set is so weird. Like you talked about, he can drop into coverage and look very comfortable. So the sim pressures that they're going to dial up, I think Pierce is kind of a better piece of a pass rush plan than he will be a one-on-one like winner all the time, because he has great balance. I think like it's kind of hard to push him off of his line, even though he doesn't have great bend. So it's like, could he be a great penetrator on a stunt, or be a part of, you know, something like that with Walker in a way that where he's especially useful for Raheem Morris in a way that he wouldn't be maybe for other teams. But at the same time, like they brought in Jeff Ulbrich. Like, what is that going to do to their pass rush plan? He's more of like a straight 4-man pressure guy coming from San Francisco. So, man, I don't know what it's going to look like, but I am intrigued by it. However, Atlanta's pass rush has been so bad for so long. They were the second lowest pressure rate in the league again last year. That it's like they'll probably be a bottom 5 pressure rate team. Like if James Pierce and Leonard Floyd and Ruka Rororo are, you know, the guys you're really banking on, are they going to really break out and bring you to the top half of an NFL team? Like I like all those.
Yeah, I guess,
you know,
I guess if Walker and James Pierce Jr. aren't like immediately very good, like kind of like top end outcome right away, like it's just bad.
Yeah. It's every other team in the league is thinking about their pass rushers and being like, well, if they break out, then we'll be really good. Like that's all 32 teams have rookies.
Dude, if our rookies are awesome, we're fine.
Now they have 2 first-round picks, so it's a little bit more.
It is a little different. It is a little different.
Yeah, it's always, you know,
just because you picked them in the first round doesn't mean that they're going to be good. Though.
If Devontae Wyatt breaks out this year, his pressure numbers have always been good.
Who was the sack?
Kingsley Enagbare, second year off of the ACL, is going to do a lot better. Yeah, you can say that for a lot of teams.
Ebiketie was the sack leader last year with.
I do like Ebiketie.
And then Judon was second with 5.5, and then Caden Ellis with 5.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, it's Onyemata and Grady Jarrett. Like it's.
Yeah, they have a bunch of like decent guys, like guys who, if they played with a real like number 1 pass rusher that offenses actually had to like slide to and chip and scheme for, I'd be like, well, you can't forget about Ebiketie one-on-one, but like Ebiketie is their number 1 pass rusher. Well, maybe you can. So we'll see about that, and we'll see about the secondary, and their nickel position still a little weak. We'll see with Watts and Bowman, the 2 guys they drafted again. It could be okay. There's like you said, a wild card is a good way to describe the Falcons. Like if they crush the draft, they could be really good and they could win this division. And if they didn't, they could be last.
It doesn't look too bad. We just don't know about their quarterback or their pass rush. But
the 2 most important things.
Things are a little bit questionable, but outside of that, it looks potentially solid. Yeah, I don't know.
Like
we'll see. Koo is still their kicker too, right? Koo is awful last year.
Outside of they have a part of special teams, defense, and offense.
They have another kicker on their depth chart. I see Lenny Krieg. He's a rookie, so
maybe Koo was just hurt last year, but man, he was 25 of 34. That's not great.
Don't love that. But yeah, they got this rookie kicker from Berlin, Germany. He's 6'1", 211 pounds, 22 years old. He's hungry. He wants it.
That's true.
Matt, Koo had a -1 AV in 2017. This is the second.
Dang, really?
Yeah, this is.
Who was the other one who we were talking about?
We were talking about Goff.
Goff.
You talked about how you've never seen a negative AV before, and Younghoe Koo has a negative AV.
Is that just something made up by like? That's just completely made up by Sports Reference, right?
Yes. No one else does AV.
I need to see what Deshaun Kaiser's AV was for the Browns.
That's a good shout.
2017. It was 5. That can't be true. There's no way. They were so. He was 0 for 15 as a starter. 255 out of 476 passes completed. It's 53%. 11 touchdowns, 22 picks.
Yeah.
He got sacked 38 times. Like I just can't imagine.
He's still 7 points better than Goff.
Still 7 points better than rookie Goff was rookie Deshaun Kaiser, who's another horrible player.
Who would have done enough damage to actually be negative? Maybe like
Anthony Richardson. Look up Jimmy Clausen, actually.
Jamarcus Russell was a -2 in 2009.
Oh.
Ooh. Good pull.
Jimmy Clausen was in 2010 for the Panthers, he was a 0.
Okay. That's not
It's pretty bad.
He didn't play. My go-to is Christian Hackenberg for stuff like this, but I don't think he played enough. In fact, I don't think he threw a pass. So, yeah. I got nothing.
Wow. Let us know in the comments if you find anyone with a crazy AV. But that would also be maybe a fun trivia question. Who are the players with the lowest AV ever?
Hold on. You might just be able to sort. Oh, no.
Can you just look up AV on Pro Football Reference?
Yeah, you can, but it's only the leaders. Here's a trivia question. Do you know who the all-time AV leader is?
Brady.
All time? Is it just quarterbacks?
No, it's actually not a quarterback at number 1.
It's not a quarterback. Is it like maybe a kicker who played forever and they're overestimating?
This is a single season.
Oh, a single season.
Single season AV leader. My first guess would probably be like maybe Jerry Rice.
Jerry Rice.
That's a good.
I'll say
about like
the earliest.
I'm gonna go LaDainian Tomlinson.
LT, you'd be correct.
Yeah. Let's go.
That's a big pull.
That is a good pull. 2006 when he had 31 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And 2,300.
That's all I was trying to. I'm like, who had like the best single season of any player I can think of? It's MVP LT.
5.2 yards per carry.
Yeah, he was
the
broken
all-time
that year. What is it? What is his AV that season?
It was 26. 26.
Damn.
And then Marshall Faulk, Lamar Jackson, and O.J. Simpson all have 25. Anyway, the Falcons.
I wonder if. Well, one more thing about AV. I wonder if it's skewed in favor of running backs because there's fewer negative plays at their disposal.
Maybe.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Anyway, Falcons.
I figured it'd be in favor of just like counting stats stuff because I think that's all it takes into consideration.
Yeah, but anywho, where do you guys have the Falcons finishing in this division?
Yeah, I'll go 3. I'll go Saints 4, Falcons 3, Panthers 2, Buccaneers 1.
So I hate to do the exact same thing as you, Matt, but I think I agree.
I'll go Buccaneers
birthday,
1.
So I'd hate to disagree with you on your birthday.
I'll say Falcons 2 because they were 2 last year with a horrible kicker. Cousins got benched and the pass rush was bad and they were still second.
It's fair.
So maybe they'll be second again. And then I'll go Panthers, Saints both have 6 wins. I'll say Panthers 3, Saints 4.
There you go.
I'd like to sneak the Saints higher than that because I said they'll surprise people on TikTok. Now I'm like, well, they'll be the fifth.
But you know better than to disrespect Bryce Young. So
the Saints are going to go 0-17 because eventually that has to happen.
Eventually that'll be true.
And then I'll go back to that ancient video, stitch it, and I'll do the wee hooping thing. I called
when
it.
Eric McCoy gets this Protector of the Year, you'll rue the day that you insinuated.
When Eric McCoy wins Protector of the Year and Tyler Shuck is Rookie of the Year and they're in the playoffs, like that would be the most shocking team I think to like make the playoffs this year would be the Saints.
Yeah, I think so. When Olave is Comeback Player of the Year, McCoy is Protector of the Year, and Shuck is not Rookie of the Year, but he's in the Bo Nix range when everyone argues for him to be in the conversation and not first. Then everyone's in trouble. Why aren't we talking about the guy who's clearly
third best rookie quarterback.
A guy who's and it'll be like he's the one who got them from how many wins did the Saints have last year? Like 5.
They were 10th. They picked 10th in the draft, so they must have had like 5 or 6.
Yeah, 5 wins. Okay, they'll win. In this reality, they'll win 12 games. He literally added 7 wins. Yeah, and he's not even in the conversation. Just because Emeka Egbuka had 1,700 yards means that he's automatically better, even though Shuck literally added 7 wins. It makes no sense.
Egbuka's 1,700 yard season.
It's gonna be a crazy year in the NFC South.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Egbuka's gonna have 17 yards. Bryce Young's gonna win MVP. Shuck's gonna be snubbed for Rookie of the Year. And
Jalen Walker, 100 tackles, 10 sacks. I'm 100 tackles, 10 sacks. It hasn't been done since James Harrison. Luvu almost pulled it off. Walker's got a decent shot.
100 tackles
He's that type of
for
guy.
a rookie would be nuts. Would be absolutely nuts. But it could be done.
If anyone could do it.
If anyone could do it, it'd be him. So that's how we all think about the NFC South and every team in this division. Let us know in the comments if you hate or love exactly what we just said. Let us know in the comments if you find anyone else with crazy AV on Pro Football Reference, because we would love to hear that as well. And until next time, as always, from your favorite 3 fellas here at Stay Hot, thank you all for tuning into another episode of Stay Hot. Make sure you wish Matt a very happy birthday if you didn't already. It was July 4th. And we'll catch you guys on the flippity flop.